Today we'll be taking a look at Nippon Ichi Software's 2003 RPG, Disgaea Hour of Darkness, specifically the 2018 re-release for the PlayStation 4 and Switch, Disgaea 1 Complete. I'll be covering just the main story today and avoiding any additional content. To some people, that's where the real gameplay of Disgaea begins, but in an effort to be able to get this video done sooner, I'll be holding off on that unless people in the comments decide that they want to hear more from me. I'm always happy to handle that. Since this is the first video on a brand new channel, the format for these videos will develop over time, so I apologize for any amateurish qualities here. For this video, I'll be discussing the plot episode by episode and characters as they first appear, while addressing their development as it happens throughout the plot. I'm writing each episode as I play it to have everything as fresh in my mind as possible. Please feel free to leave any suggestions that you think will help lead to better videos. Comment if you have any suggestions for games you'd like me to cover. If you end up enjoying this video, feel free to come over to my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/latencyissue, where I'm playing games that will eventually be covered on this channel. Enough with the preamble, let's get right into it. After a short intro to give us some context to the world we're entering, we're introduced to the first two main characters of the game, Laharl and Etna. Laharl is the son of King Kurchevskoy, and therefore the heir to the throne of the Netherworld. He is awoken from an accidental 2-year nap by his father's vassal Etna to discover that his father has died while he slept. He's just like me, for real. I too sleep like a rock and need somebody like Etna to wake me up by shooting me. More of Etna's story will be revealed in time, but for now, all we know is that she's one of the king's last remaining vassals, and she and Laharl have some familiarity. The game throws its tutorial at us next, and while it is a decent amount of information at once, it is delivered in a succinct way. From a gameplay perspective, Disgaea is a TRPG in the same vein as Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy Tactics. Disgaea is different, however, in that the combat is split into player turn and enemy turn. Instead of characters having their own separate turns, movement and actions are also independently taken, allowing units to attack before moving, or vice versa. For each map, 10 units are allowed out of the base panel. Right now, we only have Laharl, Etna, and 3 randomly generated Prinnies to use. Prinnies are penguin lookalikes that are actually the souls of the deceased that are working off their sins in the Netherworld for wages that guarantee they are never leaving. They end every sentence with "dude." They also explode when they are thrown, because throwing is a mechanic in this game. We're also introduced to the mechanics behind geosymbols. Geosymbols act as modifiers for specific tiles on the battlefield, with the added aspect of being colored and allowing for tiles to change colors after a differently colored geosymbol is destroyed on top of it. Units, both friendly and enemy, take damage if the tile they are on is forcibly color changed by a geosymbol. Large geochains add to the bonus gauge that increases as you deal and take damage, and if you are able to clear out all the colored tiles by effectively color changing and using clear colored geosymbols, if available, an explosion will be triggered, dealing a set amount of damage to all enemies depending on how many color changes were done. From a story basis, this chapter does not have too much going on. The Dimensional Gatekeeper adds a location known as Virus Castle as our first real taste of gameplay. Later on in the game, we'll come across stages within each location that have an event at the beginning or end of the stage, which is where a large portion of the story takes place. However, for Virus Castle, there's only a small scene when you first enter the castle in the second stage, Blessed Court, and a major scene in the final stage, Hall of Caresses. Here we are introduced to the first reoccurring NPC, a man who refers to himself as the Dark Adonis, Vyers. Laharl immediately clocks him for what he really is. This chapter and several others in the game have alternative game over states that allow you to start over with your character's levels and equipment saved, similarly to a New Game Plus. After clearing the fight, Etna runs off as Laharl and the Prinnies loot the castle. Each episode ends with a satirical sequence that really evokes what I feel separates Disgaea from other games of its ilk. While other popular series play into more serious fantasy and fiction tropes, Disgaea is over the top with its anime influence that reminds me heavily of the Saturday morning cartoons I grew up watching.
You're one scary girl.
Next on Hyperdimensional Demon Gal Etna, Episode 2, The Birth of Queen Etna. A new era of the Netherworld begins!
You're delusional.
We're introduced to an assassin sent from Celestia, the realm of the angels, by the name of Flan. I did not mention it until now, but all the characters we've met so far have been demons. Demons who act essentially just like humans, but, demons nonetheless. Once Flan properly enters the story, the differences between the two really become important. Flan is an angel trainee sent by the leader of the angels, Seraph Lamington, to assassinate King Drevskoy. She encounters Laharl in the castle and accidentally reveals to him why she is there, but not for who, and after realizing her mistake, runs off to the next stage, Frozen Lake. The party first encounters her on Stage 2, Icy Breath. Flan uses an angelic spell to summon enemies for us to fight, revealing to the party that she is not a demon. However, the match against her is delayed until Stage 4, White Death. In that fight, she summons a dragon to help, which acts as the actual boss. Flan actually healed a few of my units with her special move during this fight. Upon her defeat, Flan realizes that Laharl is actually not his father, and after he reveals his lack of sadness towards his father's death, Flan decides to change her mission to learning the true nature of demons and potentially redirecting her assassination attempt at Laharl.
Episode 3, A Hint of Kindness.
It's now time to pay the Prinnies, but Laharl doesn't want to use his own money and instead decides to rob the richest guy who lives nearby, his father's old vassal Hogmiser. But first, we're introduced to another mechanic by ways of the item world. Unfortunately, due to some shenanigans, the gate to Hogmiser's castle is blocked with the requirement of carrying an item that is level 10. The item world is a procedurally generated stage that increases the stats of the item that you are inside of, with a chance to come back to the main hub, Overlord's Castle, after every 10 floors. As a difference from standard levels, the item world levels each have a gate that ends the stage if a friendly unit steps on it, instead of all enemies needing to be cleared. And if you need a quick exit, we're giving an item called a Mr. Jency's Exit, an emergency exit. Upon equipping the level 10 item, we're given access to Dinero Palace. Luckily, we only need to have the item equipped to access it for the first time, instead of being forced to carry the item at all times, since I used a very low level item to rank up, and it still wouldn't actually surpass the current equipment that I had. In the second stage, we're given our first hint at the nature behind Prinnies. Unlike the Netherworld where they work for scraps, in Celestia, Prinnies take care of housekeeping tasks for free as their atonement instead. It's in the third stage where Laharl realizes that the castle is owned by a former vassal of his father's, when the party comes across a portrait of the former king, which Etna takes for herself. In the final stage, we meet Krajewskoy's money-obsessed former vassal Hogmiser, who Laharl is convinced to spare after his son, who is named Porkmiser later in the franchise, and Flan intervenes. Flan's intervention also leads to our first flashback to the relationship between Laharl and his father, an interaction about Laharl's lack of love for his father. Laharl also tells the Prinnies to leave a small amount of loot behind to not leave Hogmiser and his son destitute, showing the small amount of kindness that Flan was hoping was within him. We also gain Hogmiser as a party member, but he is no longer involved in the story.
Episode 4, Gift from an Angel.
I ignored his small appearance before, but the opening scene of this chapter is where we get our first look at the main antagonist for the game, Archangel Volcanus. After questioning Lamington's reasoning for sending Flan, he discovers Krajewskoy is already dead and assumes that Flan has allied with the demons to take over Celestia. In order to stop her supposed insurrection, Volcanus has stolen the pendant that allows Flan to remain in the Netherworld. After the promise of something good, Laharl agrees to recover it for Flan. The story events in this episode do not do much outside of teasing future events. In the first level, the party finds an angel feather that does not belong to Flan, teasing Volcanus in the future. In level 2, Flan receives a medicine from an unknown Prinnie to help with the key to the map. And in level 3, Laharl questions Flan about potential weaknesses of the Seraph as preparation in case they need to fight in the future. On the fourth and final level, we get a long-awaited rematch with our old pal Mid-Boss, who gains the pendant after Volcanus' wicked heart causes the pendant to burn him. Mid-Boss, however, is unaffected by the pendant's magic. Post-fight, Mid-Boss runs off and accidentally drops the pendant into the lava river, which Laharl dives in for afterwards, selfishly trying to gain the reward from Flan. She claims she has already given it to him, which causes him to run off in anger, Flan happy to see that he does have the capacity for love within him. As a little bit of a sidebar here, since I haven't discussed it as of now, let's talk about the Dark Assembly. This is one of the more interesting features behind the Disgaea series, in my opinion. The idea of gating certain aspects of the game behind an internal voting system, where you were even able to force things to go your way through fighting the naysayers and through bribery with money later on in the series. Things such as improving the quality of items in the shops are through bills passed by your party. Bills are brought via characters paying the mana that they gain through killing enemy units. Character creation is also in the Dark Assembly and uses the same mana pool. Characters built this way cost different amounts of mana depending on how you choose to apply stat modifiers, with the cheapest reducing 5 points and the most expensive adding 10 points, but also requiring approval from the assembly. Spellcasters such as mages, skulls, and clerics can pass on their spells to the unit that created them, which I used for the first time during this episode to build out more skills for Flawn so she could be more useful in combat.
Episode 5, Etna's Secret.
At the beginning of the next episode, Etna and Flawn come across an embarrassing photo of Laharl that declares a challenge for the throne of the Overlord, along with a threat to leak the photo if the challenge is not accepted. The party heads to Jotunheim to find the culprit and remove another obstacle in Laharl's way. On the second level of this stage, we come across some weak-looking enemies who begin speaking optimistic phrases. Laharl's unknown weakness that Flawn unknowingly adds to, leading to his stats being temporarily lowered. On the next level, we're introduced to the culprit, Medeiros, a former vassal who was exiled after stealing the king's favorite snack, the black pretzel. He sends his succubus enemies towards Laharl, revealing his other weakness of busty women, making note that Etna and Flawn's flat chests have zero effect on him. Medeiros reveals that Etna has been working alongside him the whole time. She's responsible for poisoning Laharl, causing his extended nap, and also gave Medeiros the picture and information on Laharl's weaknesses. He curses her to die alongside the party as she has outlived her usefulness, and with that, flees. This map acts as the first major grinding location, as all the tiles except for one in the corner of the map have the geo effect invincibility, and enemies can be thrown into each other to combine them into a stronger unit. So instead of fighting 8 level 14 enemies on this map, we fight 1 level 112 enemy. On the final map, Medeiros pulls out all the stops and sends his succubi at us, now spouting optimistic phrases. This nearly incapacitates Laharl until his self-described rival, Mid-Boss, shows up with a rousing speech that flies over Laharl's head. He condenses it down to "close your eyes and cover your ears, stupid," which helps Laharl ignore his weaknesses. Medeiros learns that Etna had double-crossed him long ago, and after he tries to order the princes he had hired to keep an eye on Etna to kill her, she reveals that she bought them off and is now getting her revenge. After his defeat, Etna contemplates killing Medeiros, the results of which depend on how many times the party has accidentally killed their own party member. Since we have avoided any ally kills this run, Etna decides to allow Medeiros to live in fear of hearing her name ever again, and he also becomes a party member, once again, no longer involved in the story.
Episode 6, Laharl's Challenge.
Laharl issues a challenge to any further people laying claims to the throne. He plans on heading toward the heart of evil with the deed to the title of Overlord and welcomes anyone to take it from him. In reality, there is no deed, and Laharl plans on using this as an opportunity to eliminate any further obstacles in his way. Before heading out of the castle, you notice that all of the non-essential vassals in the castle are gone, so we should expect to see them on our way through the forest. In the first map, the party is bum-rushed by a large group of demons all vying for the throne, somehow surprising Laharl despite the open challenge. The second map brings Sardia, a demon with wild claims that she can't keep straight, such as being unsure if she has slain more than 2,000 demons or less than 2,000, or that her sword can split the earth, or maybe it can't. On the third map, the Prinny Squad members who are not members of the party decide to challenge Laharl to a baseball match for the throne, knowing that they can't win in a fight. The party responds by kicking their asses. Next, we're given the first indication in the franchise that other netherworlds exist when an overlord from another world comes to fight for the throne. This overlord fought Krzyzewskoy in the past and sees his opportunity through love. Due to the overlord being so large, he can't appear entirely on screen, so he splits into 10 doppelgangers to actually fight the party. This is a scripted fight where the player is meant to lose, as each of the 10 copies is level 75, while the party is typically only going to be around level 20 at this time. After the party is defeated, the missing vassals from the castle, who are lying in wait to ambush Laharl, step in and fight the alternate overlord in King Krzyzewskoy's memory. They easily clear the way for the party and choose to return to the castle and remove themselves from the fight for the throne. For our next challenger, we're jumped by an obvious parody of Sentai via the Prism Rangers. Prism's red, blue, and yellow claim they want to gain the title of Overlord in order to gain more friends and actually be able to form the colors of the rainbow. While preparing for what I assume is their mecha transformation, Etna pulls out a gun and shoots Yellow and Blue, allegedly non-fatal. This causes Prism Red to summon the demons he hired to help him fight the party. Afterwards, the party finally arrives at the Heart of Evil, where there is no more challengers, but as Laharl is about to declare himself Overlord, our old pal Mid-Boss shows up for another fight, hoping to settle things despite the party having beaten him twice at this point. Stomach cramps cause him to flee the fight. With the conclusion of this chapter, Laharl officially becomes the Overlord.
Episode 7 of Being an Overlord.
Laharl has diligently maintained his evil laugh since becoming the Overlord, until Etna comes with an actual task for him. A bratty demon named Aramis has lost his pet zombies and requests the party to return them for him. Laharl thinks the request is beneath him and demands something more suitable, but Etna becomes indignant and says she'll never accept Laharl as the Overlord unless he accepts the request, leading to his acceptance. This chapter, I feel, ends up being the most filler, as the only real insight into the characters we get is Etna reminiscing on her early years under the king. She was bullied by others in the castle and found solace in her pet, which is why she is so driven to have Laharl find Aramis's zombie pets. When she found her pet dead at the hands of her bullies, the king offered comfort, at which point Etna pledged her loyalty to him. After recovering all the zombies for Aramis, he genuinely thanks the party and pledges his loyalty to Laharl in the future.
Episode 8 Reincarnation.
赤い月赤い月罪を犯したものどもの汚れを清める赤い月今宵は誰が生まれ変わる今宵は誰が生まれ変わる
Flan wakes up in the middle of the night to hear the Prinnies singing and see them leaving the castle. She is told by a red Prinnie that does not enter sentences with Dude that they have all atoned for their sins and will be reincarnating. In the morning, Etna informs Laharl about the Prinnies being gone, but Flan holds her tongue about the reason why. The red Prinnie informs the party that the Prinnies are fine, which Laharl says he doesn't care and vows to bring them back. In an interaction on the second map, Flan confronts Laharl about his disrespect towards her after Laharl questions Flan about her dodginess over the whereabouts of the Prinnies. Flan tells him that the way he acts will prevent him from becoming a good Overlord. In the next map, Etna and Flan discuss why Laharl is as closed off as he is, despite the fact that he has softened his personality since Flan's arrival. Etna reveals that Laharl's mother was a human who was enamored with the concept of love, similarly to Flan, and she sacrificed herself to save Laharl from an illness. Since that day, he has refused to acknowledge love. On the final map, we see the Prinnies ascending to the Red Moon to begin their reincarnation, as Laharl decides to step in and defeat death before he can complete the task. After the battle, the Red Prinnie pleads to Laharl to allow the Prinnies to ascend if he values his vassals at all. Upon his agreement, after giving in to what is best for them, the Red Prinnie turns to leave with the others, having atoned for her sins as well. Flan asks before she leaves what sin she committed, and the Red Prinnie reveals that she took her own life to save her son, revealing her identity as Laharl's mother just before she leaves. Laharl, finally at peace with the only person he loves, addresses Flan by name for the first time
Let's
as the
return
party
to the
returns
castle.
to the castle.
Flan. Episode 9 Captain Gordon, Defender of Earth.
At the beginning of this episode, we're introduced to a party of humans in a spaceship leaving the Earth to destinations unknown. Gordon, the Defender of Earth, Jennifer, scantily clad, and Thursday, Robot. They are members of the Earth Defense Force and told by their leader, General Carter, that they will no longer be in contact with Earth. Wherever they are heading is a threat to the entirety of humanity. Very Saturday morning cartoon-esque, complete with the acknowledgement that Gordon is perving on Jennifer. We then switch to a report from the Prinnie Squad that an anomaly has been found in the stellar graveyard. Laharl first thinks it's invaders, but since the location is a dumping ground for the Netherworld, he pushes the idea aside. Flan thinks there might be injured people and convinces the party to go take a look. We, the player, find out that the ship that carried the humans crash-landed in the stellar graveyard, separating Jennifer and Thursday from Gordon. Jennifer assumes that they will meet a tragic fate in the Netherworld now and is surprised to find the party, thinking that they're children lost in the Netherworld. Laharl has to confront one of his weaknesses when looking at Jennifer's body, and the castaways link up with the party to search for Gordon, the humans to reunite with their friend, and Laharl to challenge the hero known as the Defender of Earth. Meanwhile, Gordon begins his own search and rescue mission for his allies. While traveling together, Jennifer questions Laharl on his invasion plans for the Earth, which is news to him as he has no desire for that planet. Jennifer believes Laharl because she sees something in him similarly to what Flawn sees in him, though she talks about it in a much more subdued and flirtatious way as opposed to Flawn's overt proclamations. The idea that their superiors may be lying strengthens the humans' resolve to find Gordon so that they can get to the bottom of the issue and hopefully prevent a needless war between humans and demons. Upon meeting up with Gordon, he and Thursday challenge the party so Gordon can complete his mission of killing the Overlord, much to Jennifer's protest. After being defeated, the three humans joined the party for real, and Flawn laments her part in harming humans, a grave sin for angels. We then flash to Volcanus, informing the Seraph of Flawn's deed and gaining permission to apprehend her. The Seraph is surprised to hear of humans being involved in the conflict now.
Episode 10, Angels, Demons, and Humans.
Picnic time. The girls have planned to go to the Sea of Gehenna as a sightseeing activity for Jennifer. Gordon is given 1,000 tasks to do while the girls are gone. Jennifer and Thursday say that since it's Sunday, they deserve a break. Gordon goads Laharl into joining the picnic, pretending to want to ensure the girls' safety, while in reality looking for the opportunity to run and escape vassalage to Laharl. We're shown General Carter talking to a man named Curtis about how the EDF haven't heard from the Defender Squad, but regardless, they've accomplished their mission by opening a way to the Netherworld. Now the EDF is ready to scrub their hands at the trio, while Curtis assumes that Gordon has actually accomplished his mission and is enjoying a picnic. Cut to Gordon doing exactly as Curtis assumed, minus the beating the Overlord part, with the hope of being able to execute his escape plan. During the picnic, Midboss comes by and steals the picnic basket after being attracted by the smell. While on the hunt for Midboss, the party uses Thursday to help track him, learning that Jennifer was a child prodigy who built him at 5 years old. After finding and defeating Midboss, he reveals he has already eaten the contents of the basket, meaning the search was in vain. After a disappointing turn of events, Gordon tries to part ways with the party to return home, only to be reminded by Edna and Jennifer that their spaceship was destroyed, meaning without the EDF coming to rescue them, the humans are stuck as vassals to Laharl.
Episode 11, Hero's Will, Overlord's Way.
Laharl receives a challenge from none other than the Defender of Earth, but it's not Gordon, who is busy hoping the EDF comes to rescue himself, Jennifer, and Thursday. Off to the Forest of the Dead to make this new Defender our vassal. The humans wonder if the challenge came from Curtis, who we are aware of, but the party is just now finding out about. He acts as an unofficial second Defender of Earth. While not officially having the title, he has taken work from the trio and has saved the world on multiple occasions. While wandering the forest looking for the Defender, the party is attacked and Thursday steps in to protect Gordon, taking a blow that ruins his internal components. The attacker is revealed to be the spirit of the first Defender, Don Joaquin. His spirit remains tied to the Netherworld after failing in his mission to defeat the Overlord. The damage he dealt to Thursday is determined to be dominantly to the memory unit, meaning that if he were to overheat in combat, he would lose all memories of his time with Gordon and Jennifer. Unfortunately, Jennifer does not have the tools necessary to fix Thursday, and so Gordon orders him to stay on the sidelines. Thursday pleads his case, saying he would rather lose everything fighting alongside his friends than wait knowing that the damage is irreparable. The party then fights Don Joaquin, with Flawn begging Laharl to lose before the fight begins to allow the Defender to finally be fulfilled. Laharl instead demolishes the Defender, leading to Flawn verbally attacking him. Don Joaquin stops her before she says something she can't take back, informing her that the thrill of battle was more important than actually winning, since he failed his mission without ever getting a chance to confront the Overlord. Thursday, at this time, finally succumbs to the damage, saying goodbye to his friends as his systems fail. Don Joaquin, as thanks for finally having his life fulfilled, repairs Thursday, who springs back to life as though he was only taking a nap.
Episode 12, War of the Netherworld, Part 1. Episode 13, War of the Netherworld, Part 2.
I'm covering both chapters here because it's a Part 1 and Part 2. Just as a heads up. In the stellar graveyard, a massive portal opens leading to a large earthquake that reverberates all the way to the castle. The Pretties inform Laharl that a massive armada has arrived, with Gordon believing it is the EDF here to save them, while Jennifer knows they were lied to and no longer has faith in them. The party heads to the stellar graveyard to determine what is happening. Upon arriving and seeing the invading human forces, Gordon fires Jennifer as his assistant when she tries to tell him that the EDF is not there to save them. The EDF soldiers in front of the party immediately tell Gordon he is meant to be terminated. It is after clearing the battlefield and receiving a message from General Carter that he realizes the EDF has abandoned him. We are next met with the arrival of Curtis, who declares his disappointment in Gordon as a rival since he lost to the Overlord. Gordon makes an impassioned Saturday morning cartoon speech which convinces Curtis to give him one more chance to prove he is a real defender. We see another quick look at Volcanus after this, revealing his plan to the audience to get rid of Flawn, Laharl, and then the Seraph. Flawn senses his evil presence, but no one else can, and they brush it aside. Etna and Flawn try to convince Gordon to apologize to Jennifer, who has become despondent since she was relieved of her position by Gordon. Curtis then makes his entrance and the party fights him. Afterwards, the space battleship Gargantua arrives in the space above them, and Curtis reveals his task is to retrieve Jennifer, who is revealed to be General Carter's daughter. The two depart for the ship, with Curtis inviting the party to find their way onto the Gargantua in order to recover Jennifer. Gordon uses Thursday to find a way aboard the Gargantua, due to Jennifer leaving coordinates in Thursday's computer, likely in anticipation for something of this nature. The party heads that way, but before doing so, Laharl single-handedly destroys the humans' armada. This shocks General Carter, whose information made him believe the Netherworld would fall easily. As the party passes through the ship, Gordon ponders if Curtis will be modifying Jennifer similarly to the android EDF soldiers they have fought so far. Further into the Gargantua, the party encounters Curtis again, who details his story to us. 5 years ago, he lost his wife and daughter in a terrorist bombing, along with 70% of his body. He lives on as a cyborg, but has cast aside that humanity in pursuit of doing anything to surpass Gordon, as he was unable to save Curtis's family. Gordon responds in turn with a rousing speech, which makes Curtis return to his senses, but unfortunately, he needs rest after the beatdown he received. When finally confronting Carter, he sends the mind-controlled Jennifer at Gordon. Curtis eventually returns and has to sacrifice himself to release Carter's control over Jennifer. Laharl blesses Curtis's sacrifice, asking Death to reunite him with his family in the afterlife. The party then attempts to confront Carter, who runs off, leaving angels behind to block the way. With this, the party now knows that angels were involved in the human invasion of the Netherworld, and assume that the Seraph was behind the plot. Realizing this and factoring in how she was sent to assassinate the Overlord, Flawn determines to return to Celestia and confront Lamington to find out his true intentions. Before the end of the episode, we also see Mid-Boss confront Carter as he is fleeing.
Final episode, What Lies Beyond the Battle.
With her mind made up, Flawn is prepared to set out for Celestia before the others decide to join her. They know that there is potential of having to fight the Seraph, and out of worry for Flawn, they all go together. At the gate to Celestia, the party encounters Mid-Boss once again, this time much more serious than usual, claiming to be there to test the party's resolve because their upcoming challenges will be more than they have dealt with in the past. Upon reaching Celestia proper, the party encounters a group of angels with orders to execute Flawn. This temporarily breaks Flawn's resolve before Laharl gives her a strong reality check. Laharl's harsh words inspire Flawn to fight the angels. Next they meet Volcanus, who argues back and forth to the party on the nature of evil before sending another squad of angels at them. The lack of the Seraph's presence leads the party to believe that Lamington is definitely involved. While Flawn understands the logic, she still has faith in him. Encountering Volcanus again, he summons some greater demons whom even Laharl is apprehensive about fighting. Gordon suggests a strategic retreat before a green Prinny enters the fray. The party is unaware of who this Prinny is until he reveals himself to be Curtis, who sinned far too much during his life and must atone. And he will atone by joining the party and facing the greater demons. The party then enters the inner chambers of Celestia and encounter a trio of angels guarding the Seraph. These particular angels have a shield that makes them invincible. The different subgroups in the party try blasting their way through, but it ends up taking the combined efforts of everyone's friendship together to break their shields. The party encounters Volcanus for the final time, where he reveals his ultimate goal of killing the Seraph and Laharl and subjugating the humans in order to become a god. After his defeat, he plans on instigating the Seraph to kill the party and leave himself open so Volcanus can take him down. Finally meeting the Seraph, Flawn and Volcanus plead their cases, with the party cutting in here and there. Flawn asks if the Seraph is responsible for the EDF's assault on the Netherworld. She says that she's learned from her time in the Netherworld that the Celestians have been prejudiced in their views on the demons, and while they are not as kind or as caring as the angels, they are not the absolute evil the angels believe them to be. While Volcanus tries to persuade the Seraph to his side, Lamington reveals he has been aware of the actions Volcanus took throughout the game and punishes him by turning him into a flower. Lamington then turns to Flawn and praises her for both unveiling Volcanus' nefarious deeds and defending the Netherworld from an invasion by the humans, but also tells her that she must be punished for attacking humans and other angels. Flawn is resigned to her fate as she has come to terms with it over the course of the party's trip through Celestia. She is given enough time to say goodbye to her friends, during which Laharl accuses Flawn of leaving him just like his mother did, before Lamington turns her into a flower just like he did for Volcanus. This sends Laharl into a rage, promising to kill the Seraph, leading to a fight where we no longer have Flawn accessible. After the fight, we receive one of 3 endings depending on certain conditions met throughout the game. If the party has no ally kills, Laharl holds back on killing the Seraph, knowing that Flawn would not have wanted Laharl to feed into that rage. He finally comes to terms with his mother's sacrifice and begins to sacrifice himself to bring Flawn back before being stopped by the sudden reappearance of Vyres, explaining that Flawn and Laharl were used to bridge the gap between the two worlds, and Lamington accepted Laharl's challenge to repent for his manipulation of the two. Flawn is brought back as a fallen angel, her real punishment. With that, Vyres begins to fade away, with Laharl's mother appearing beside him, implying his real identity as reincarnated Krzyzewskoi. As a sidebar here, we have seen a few instances throughout the game of Lamington speaking with an off-screen character about the events the party is going through, during which Lamington does remark about how he is keeping the off-screen figure alive. In the post-credits scene, we see Laharl accepted as the Overlord, Flawn as a permanent resident of the Netherworld, the Defenders returning to Earth with Curtis seeming to have atoned and passed with the Red Moon, and a peace established between Laharl and Lamington. If one ally kill is made, Laharl goes through with killing the Seraph, and Vyres reveals Lamington's intentions, leading to Laharl going through with sacrificing himself to bring Flawn back. For post-credits this time, we see Flawn and Overlord Etna being informed of a Prinny who refuses to work and looks suspiciously like Laharl. If the party force passes 100 bills at the Dark Assembly, Laharl kills Lamington and disappears with the Flawn Flower, with the hope of returning her to her original form. And finally, if the player has reached the end of the item world in a high-ranking item, Laharl believes he has killed the Seraph before Vyres informs him Lamington is just barely alive. Flawn still returns as a fallen angel, but Laharl disappears, leaving the throne to Etna due to how far he went. And with that, the main game is done. There are some Dark Assembly bills that can be passed that have short stories attached to them, such as a visit to the human world to fight General Carter. There is also an alternate universe shorter story mode about Etna that I will cover in a follow-up video if that's something that would be of interest. After not playing the game to completion in the last 12 years, it's been really fun to go back and play something that I enjoyed so much in my younger days. I did forget exactly how some of the story beats played out, so it was nice to go back and revisit it almost as if there were fresh eyes. In time, I'd like to cover the entire series, since there's a decent part of it that I haven't played since they originally came out or haven't played at all. If you enjoyed, please give it a like, and if you want to, subscribe, comment, anything like that. Every little thing helps. I also have a Twitch channel that I mentioned in the beginning of the video, where I stream throughout the week, linked in the description if you want to come and watch some stuff over there. Also have Discord linked in the description. Thank you for watching. It truly is appreciated. I'm going a little bit off script here. This is the first time I've actually ever written a script, and it's the first time in probably 15 years that I've seriously worked on a YouTube video. Much different style than what I was doing, 15 years ago. But it's really nice to get back to it. I'm hoping that this channel starts to take off and sees some growth. I'm hoping that the Twitch stuff takes off and does well. 2024, I'm trying to go kind of all in on the creation side of things, whether that's working on YouTube videos, streaming, working on my music. So I'm hoping that you will be here along for the ride, join me, watch as I develop. Thank you for watching the first video. Really truly does mean the most. Hoping to have something out next month as well. I want to try and do at least one edited video a month, maybe more if I pivot in a slightly different direction, because I want to do gaming, music, maybe even movie kind of stuff on this channel. I want to kind of put my eggs in a little bit of every basket, because I am somebody who I don't want to limit myself to just one thing. So I hope you guys will all be here along for the ride. Definitely appreciate it. Thank you so much. See you next time.